here. Don't mind me. I'm sorry. Okay, so in this video, I'm just real quick fixing the chat here because automatic translation. There's some new options on my app, so I have to fix that as well. Give me 1 second. Anyone? Oh. Do we want anyone? No. We want subs only. Oh, jeez. Thank you for your patience. Hang on. There we go. All right. Okay, so hopefully you guys can see it's a little dark here. As the day goes on, it gets darker and darker. I don't know. That's kind of soft for me. I'll be able to see better that way. All right. Okay. All right, so happy Saturday to you guys. What we're going to look at today is, this is not going to be a super long video. With the weather stuff going on, I want to keep an eye on things, and my furnace has been going in and out. It's been a little weird, but let me tell you what we're going to cover in this video real quick. It's going to be current events, and in one part, and in part, we're going to be flashing back a little bit, and I'll have a little bit of proof to back up a theory that I have regarding the bigger picture as a whole. I think it's important that we do that sometimes and just step back and take a look at the whole picture and see what's going on with everything. So we're going to do that. And I have a couple of links that are current to look at and a couple that support a theory that I've been talking about for a long time. But it's not about backing up my theory. It's about us being, you know, prepared, not scared, and forewarned about things that are on the way, right? Or things that are coming, or things that are being exacerbated and exaggerated. So I'm going to pull up. Oh, first though, we're also going to go over a couple of tidbits that are just a little strange. So bear with me because I think it's just something I want to mention. There are links in the description for anyone that wants to go look themselves or follow along as we look. But I have to say, okay, so as I'm scrolling, just checking the news in Google, seeing what's pertinent, and what I do is I'll look from my account, which is basically attached to my home area, but I'll also look from my other account, which I don't have any like selections made on, and it gives me a little broader scope of what's happening. So Vanna White, I can't believe I'm going to talk about this, but it's weird, and it goes along with like what we're talking about, like with time and just imposters or whatever, you know, AI, whatever's happening. So Vanna White is still around, and I've got to tell you, something like a long time ago on this planet, a little far away, I would watch Wheel of Fortune with my grandma. That woman has not aged, okay? I've seen her pregnant with twins, allegedly had these twins. You really don't see a lot of news about her. She's on the show, she does her smile. She used to do Crest ads. I don't know what they did with her. I don't know what to think. Are they just laughing at us now, and are they just like, everybody's immortal on the screen now? Or, because now she's married again. She's getting married, and her husband, if you look at the picture that I shared, her husband is like holding her up like a new bride in the threshold of their house. And I'm just thinking, okay, she's done this several times, which is, you know, some people do, but she doesn't look any different than she did 20 years ago. What is happening? Is it just is it, because there comes a point in time when you have to admit to people what you're doing, like what's going on, because it's just not normal. But I know that my generation, we've aged pretty well usually. And sometimes that fluctuates if you get enough sleep, if you don't, if it's a hard year. But for the most part, we've done all right. So that was something I wanted to mention, just because it's strange to me that when they mention her, that it's always with a picture attached, and she has not changed at all. I don't care how healthy your life's. Like, I don't know. I don't know. Okay, so this other thing that I have here, President Trump, and this is from Reuters, and again, the source links are cited in the description box. President Trump is getting new transportation, and again, this is lighthearted stuff we're starting with because we're going to get into something kind of heavy, but it is current events. So this week in Davos, Switzerland. Now, Switzerland, for nobody that knows, and I know this because I research the stuff because I have to, and because I want to know thy enemy. Switzerland is where they did the tunnel ritual for that giant tunnel that was opening up, that real satanic thing they did back in like 2016. Switzerland is openly satanic. They're very openly satanic and paganistic, some of them. But for the majority, they're pretty, satanistic. So I found it interesting that Davis was held there. I actually got an email a couple years ago when my targeting was heavy asking me if I wanted to go there. I was also invited to Romania right before the Tate brothers got busted. So again, it's very strange that somebody's feeding me little bits of information. So anyway, this week in Davos, Switzerland, the U.S. Secret Service began transporting Trump in newly delivered Cadillac SUVs. The agency confirmed in a social media post. Now, I got to tell you, you can like the car you like, whatever. Right now, that's kind of like a slap in the face of a lot of people that are having a hard time financially, number one. Number two, if you see these, if you look at these Cadillac SUVs, they look like hearses. And I'm not kidding. They look like they're a hearse, especially with the flag on the front. It looks like you're watching a funeral. And again, everything with these people is symbology. It's symbolic. There's no way they looked at this and said, oh, this looks appropriate for a normal president. You know what I mean? It just looks really strange. And again, they're all about symbolism. So take a look when you get the chance to look up these black Cadillac SUVs, right? Because we know the FBI is secret, they do that. We have a few of them around here, and don't ask, I've posted a couple walk-in talks where I catch them going around the corner with their tinted windows and no license plate. So the next thing we're gonna look at, I just thought that was weird that this picture, I was like hit by how much it resembled a funeral. But again, I haven't seen a lot of funerals on the road in many, many, many years. That should give people pause too. Okay, so now I'm going to ramble, but just for a second. This is not going to be a long video, but I have to tell you, I've been talking about how, you know what? First, I'm going to go to the link, and then we'll do our flashback. Because when I tell you what this is, I'm going to tell you to remember something from a while back. Okay, so, but again, all this goes together. There's a reason I'm doing it the way I'm doing it. All right, and I did provide links for anyone that wants to do their own footwork. Now we're going to look at, now this is, please don't be mad, but the source is CNN. It's only CNN because I didn't really want to dig a bunch for this because it's pretty, you can find it anywhere. But I have CNN listed, but I also have ABC because I found it very interesting what ABC, gosh, it's like signing your life away. It's like you're getting into Fort Knox just to read a newspaper now. Or what I would call a newspaper. Okay, so CNN and ABC, but ABC, it's interesting because of how they describe what's happening themselves as a mainstream media outlet. But anyway, we'll start with CNN. New ICE policy allows officers to enter homes without a judge's warrant. Here's what experts say. Now, I know other channels cover this. I understand that. We're not going to look at it the same way that other channels look at it. So just hang on with me a second. Bear with me. Don't stop watching the video because you think it's going to be politicky. I don't choose sides in that way. I'm on, like, humanity's side, America's side, my neighbor's side. Like, I just That's how I am, especially at this point in my life. You can laugh at me, crack at me, everybody else does. Okay, so CNN, new ICE policy allows officers to enter homes without a judge's warrant. Here's what experts say. Now, I do have another source we're going to look at in a second. Now, it says, within immigration, and again, I'm reading this to you because I want you to remember something from a few years ago. We're going to pull some of this together. Let me be blunt for anyone that's ready to leave before I go through the information. There's a reason in the comment section, folks, that you're seeing people say that they want to know who's under the mask, that they're impersonators. That's not propaganda. We have been infiltrated from within like a Trojan horse because we're a melting pot, because we've welcomed immigrants for the most part. And a lot of people don't realize that because, it's a constant point for politics. And again, this video is not about politics. This is about you and me and our neighbors and our country and our families and God. God blesses us with our families and this land and this country. So we have a right to know who's here, what they're doing, when they're doing it. And they don't need to be doing it if we don't want them doing it. But this is different. Here's my point. If I'm right, okay, if this is not propaganda, and again, I'm going to bring you sources in a second from a variety of places and also firsthand experience. So just bear with me as I give you a little why you need to be concerned with this. We are in, and it's not been said, they're not going to declare it, but we are in a time of lawlessness. We have been since Biden, at least. Executive orders are not laws. Laws take time to go through, and there are votes, and there are checks, and there are balances. These executive orders, first of all, are not laws. Second of all, if myself and a few other people are right about our theory on this, you should be concerned with who's under the masks. Why are you wearing them? What is the purpose of them? You get to avoid facial recognition, but not us. It goes deeper than that. And you should be concerned for your friends, your family, and your neighbors because they do invade people's homes. Bear with me because this also, if I am right, again, the culture that is here is paganistic, and this is in part religious for them. It's like, it is like almost a holy war. So just bear with me for a second. So it says now there's an Immigration and Customs Enforcement memo that went out to ICE officers, I guess, that allows them to enter homes without a judicial warrant. What does that mean? What that means is, and this is where it gets very nasty because it's very blatant and very out in the open. And and the link again is in the description box because I'm just going to talk about what's in these links and not necessarily read them verbatim and bore everybody and all that. So CNN is telling us about this memo that ICE officers received. Now, normally you have to go to a judge with the warrant, like these things, again, take checks and balances. Laws are there to protect the law abiders. They're there to protect people who aren't going to break them. So that if something happens when somebody does break them, people can, be protected. Their property, they can seek, reparation. So it says, even in an administration that has always pushed an expansive vision of its law enforcement authority, the directive is notable for the way it tosses aside long-standing prohibitions against warrantless searches on private property. A legal concept that predates the creation of the United States is among the country's most foundational principles. Now, listen, this is important. The Bill of Rights we thought were the first 10 amendments, Mark Graber said, a constitutional law scholar and University of Maryland professor. With the newly discovered memo, he said, I guess now that we are down to 9. Now it says immigration officials typically had sought arrests of undocumented people through two means: a judicial warrant, which is signed and authorized by a judge, or an administrative warrant, which is signed by the people who work in the executive branch and fall under the purview of the president. The problem with this, and now this is from May 2025, right? But they're reminding everybody about this. It's deeply concerning because there's no safeguards, no accountability built into the system, okay? Now I want to show you or tell you what ABC had to say about this, because this is telling. Just bear with me again, because I've been talking about some of this for a very long time on the channel. God revealed this to me, what was going on, because I was not smart. I'm not a smart. I remember things I read. I'm book read. Like I'm articulate. I'm good with words. But I'm not good with being nefarious and plotting and stuff. Like, I'm just not good at that. Anytime I did try to tell a lie or sneak around, I always got caught. So I don't do that type of thing. Unless, now, I mean, if my children were in danger, my country was in danger, maybe I'd be a better actress. So I'm going to read to you real quick what ABC News said about this, because I just read CNN, so we're going to keep this balanced. It says a U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement, I.C.E. memo issued in May authorized agents to, and now again, we're going to get into high strangeness, because this goes to the symbolism in this is concerning to me and makes me think that I am correct, or that the message I received was correct, and I do believe it was from God. Authorizes agents to enter the homes of those suspected of being in the U.S. illegally with an administrative warrant, not a warrant signed by a judge, in order to make immigration arrests, according to a whistleblower group, which says it shared the secretive memo with Congress. Traditionally, ICE agents have needed a warrant signed by a judge, now bear with me because this is different what they say, in order to enter the home of someone suspected of being in the U.S. illegally. However, the guidance allegedly given by ICE in May suggests they can rely on administrative warrants, which are authorized by officials within the Department of Homeland Security, and in most cases by ICE themselves. What does that mean? That means they can quickly write up any warrant, and again, that in and of itself is that's forgery. Like, that's not how, you got to have the seal of the department. Anyways, they can quickly jot something down, and the authorization, it doesn't need to pass through anyone but themselves. They can authorize it and sign off on it on themselves. Is that not a conflict of interest? And I'm asking y'all, is that not a conflict of interest? And I still can't hear well, so I apologize if I'm being loud. But in order, these warrants that they're going to have, they don't have to go to anyone else to check it out and say, okay, that follows this code, that follows that code. They can just create a warrant for this person. They can fabricate it if they choose to and sign off on it, have their own agents sign off on it and approve it. You're not allowed to, I don't know where I'm living. My mom had her own business. And I do believe that you cannot have your own business in a small town unless you're in the club. And I've seen and heard a lot over the years. Every time. Any TI that you watch, there's always an ambulance that goes by, especially when we're on point. I don't know why. It's just a pattern. This goes against so many legalities that I can't even begin to explain why it's wrong. First of all, you have to have the seal, right? From each office has to be on the letterhead. It has to, you have to check and make sure that it matches up with the codes, with the laws. It's a conflict. It's like, I don't even know how to explain it. It's like a child being a minor and saying, okay, I have a doctor's appointment now, and signing themselves out at 8 years old. You can't sign off on something yourself like that. It's not legal. It's a conflict of interest is what it's called. And if it's not, if it ends up being like a really fraudulent warrant, like we're seeing happen a lot allegedly, if it ends up being that, then that opens up even more legal problems. Okay, so now I'm going to go to something else. I'm going to try and pull some of this together for you guys. So I'm going to remind you of something. And I'm going to pose a theory to you. And if you're here, I would beg that, not beg, but I would ask that you stay for the whole theory, because you're not, you can't judge anything. You can't discern anything if you don't get all of the information. So there are some comments, and I'm telling you now that it's not propaganda. When you see the comments and comment sections that say they want to see what's under the mask, they don't believe or whatever, I'm going to tell you, do what I did. Seek out some of the videos of ICE where they talk, where they're speaking. Not one of them sounds American, and I'm not being racist. What do I mean by this? I mean, in America, we all have accents. I have a more northern, eastern accent because that's where I'm from. You have southern accents, you have midwestern, western accents, East Coast accents, right? Every time I hear one of these ICE officers speak, they do not sound American. They sound Hispanic or Mexican. They don't sound American. And again, I'm not being whatever. I used to go to the Mexican restaurant all the time, and I told you guys about it until they started bossing me around to vote for Trump. Even after, now, if I'm wrong about my theory as well, these guys, I used to be really nice to them, tip them really well, this, that, and the other. I walked in there one day and saw two of them hugging and dancing, and I kind of, whatever, do your thing. Although the one had just gotten married to a woman. And again, I'm telling you all this for a reason, because all of these things go hand in hand, and I'm gonna bring it all together. And I'm still at 22 minutes, so just bear with me. It's not been that long. They also started barking at me, right? If you go back to my testimony, I talk about trafficking and noticing the signs of it in your own area and looking at certain buildings and knowing to stay away from them, especially if you're, a female. I've talked about that just to help other people and other women, because I see it in my own town, and it's a beautiful small town, but it's got a nasty underbelly. So in 2010, now I'm going to tell you to flash back and hold that in your mind, all right? Most of the ICE officers I've heard speak do not sound American. They do not have an American accent. They sound like they are from Mexico or Brazil, Latino. Now, again, everything this administration has told us has ended up being the opposite of what they said. If you can't figure that out yet, then I've got nothing on my channel that can help you, because we're way beyond that point. We know this, we see it, everything they say and do is inverted, okay? Years ago, I know somebody firsthand that worked at the Turnpike. And like myself, he had several jobs that were very pertinent to a lot of the mysteries going on in life today. And I had jobs that were pertinent to a lot of the stuff you're seeing happen today, fraudulently. That's how I know it's fraudulent, is because I worked in healthcare. I worked in banking. My mom had her own business. She had a lawyer, a couple of them. I've soaked things up over the years like a sponge. When my friend worked at the Turnpike for maintenance, they told me about uniforms being stolen. This is not limited, though, or isolated to just happening on the Turnpike. But keep in mind, on the Turnpike, the uniforms that were being stolen were state officers, staties, all right? It's not just them, though. Now, I'm not just talking out of my wazoo. I've got proof because I like to back up the things I say. And I'm going to read it to you. First, I'm going to read to you the search just so you know what I searched. I searched, hold on. I gotta find it because it's kind of funny the way that it shared it and printed it, so. Oh, come on, where'd it go? There it is. All right, so I searched 2000.